Hello, today I'm just going to be working on our case system, trying to refactor that a little bit to make it a little bit more friendly and usable. So let's get started. So I'm just going to get it open up here and we can see what we have so far. So currently what we have is the clues, which will be sticky notes, will show up on the left, and when you combine two clues, a text description will show up on the right. We want instead that Aster will say this line as a dialogue, and the clues themselves, if you hover over them, will show a description on the left. Just so you can get a little more information about them while keeping them short themselves. So I'll be getting this moved. I'm gonna hide the transitions first because they always get in the way of the clicks. So let's collapse a few more things just to keep them out of the way. So yeah, let's move this over, reuse this box. So this will be the clue description. Rich text label. We'll have to open up our script for the clues panel. We're going to change this to update that name. Description. See what that complains about. So that's step one. We want to make that. So how do we add clues currently? So the scene is a knowledge button that we're using. So we want that when we successfully do a creation, we want to add a knowledge button. And then we're going to have to make an animation to move it over to the left-hand list, but we'll start with just adding it to the bottom right and go from there. So, okay. When we try combination, we return the success message, but we're also immediately calling the learn and update events. So instead of calling update here, we'll want to call that text. So how's this going to go? Let me split this out into create knowledge, so we can use it in both places. Maybe I'll call it create clue for now, since that's what we're calling them in this setup. And we'll actually return that knowledge button. So we'll need to pass in the knowledge that is of knowledge type. This becomes, instead of these 4 lines, we're just going to call create clue with that knowledge. So that's a little cleaner, which is good. We can get rid of that space. We don't want that either. So now we're able to create a clue and then just return that clue back. So we want something to hold this clue. So that we can put it inside of there when we're done. So for now, I'm just going to reuse one of these panels. since that's what we've been using for organizing clues so far. Let me just move this down. Yeah, I can increase the text size here. Let me know if that's better. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to continue with adding the new clue to the new box we created. Just make sure they're good with the font size. We'll rename this to resulting clue panel. And then we'll need to get an instance of this in the script here. We're passing actually the container that's inside of that. So now resulting clue container can go there. And clue description, drag that on since we're here. Okay, so now when we actually create a successful clue, we're going to want to add it to this clue container first. So for now, we have code for if we already have this clue, we'll handle that behavior separately in a moment. But rather than directly learning the event, I guess we'll still learn the event, but now we're going to want to add it to this container. So we can copy the code from here. But instead of adding this to our knowledge list, we're going to want to add this into our resulting clue container. And we need to know which knowledge this is, so we want this to be the combination resulting knowledge rather than flat knowledge. Alright, so let's give this a test, see if just our new clue shows up in the bottom to start. We need to play a little of the game, I think, to get to this spot. Yeah, kind of fresh game, so give me a moment to skip on through. Oh, actually, that's fine. Transition's hidden because of turning that off for debug purposes, but that's fine. So here's the spot where we get our first clues, so I can test those out. So if I click them, yeah, the new clue goes into our new box to start, and we can see the descriptions over here for now. This will be updated to be an actual description of like the clue you're highlighting, and instead this will become dialogue, but we'll start this way for now. Okay, good to see that working so far. So let's start the episode. So when we try a combination, instead of using clue description for this, we're going to want to do a dialogue. I think because we're inside the journal, we're not going to be able to do a dialogue directly because that's hidden. So we're going to want a fake clue dialogue, I believe. It's not the best, but I just want to make it work first, and then we can see if there's a way to improve it later. So for now, best way to handle this is I'm going to duplicate the whole setup and then just clear out the things that I don't need. So this will be clue dialog panel. We're going to make it a part of this clues panel. Yeah, okay. And let's test. We're going to make this visible. We won't ever need. Okay, actually, that's going to be. It needs to go lower down because it needs to be on top of these as well. So we're going to just put it at the bottom of our journal panel. Nope, even then, we'll have to put it at the bottom of our notebook panel. So we'll clean this up later for sure. But for now, we don't need two portraits. We're only going to have one speaker ever. It's going to be Aster solving clue. So far, we've tended to have her on the right, so I'm going to get rid of the left at this point. We're not going to have any dialogue options from picking or from just creating or having insight on a new clue combination, so we don't need that. Okay, I want to just see if I can boost my mic at all or anything. Give me one moment, because I'm told I'm still a little too quiet. So let's see what I can do. That should make it a little bit better. Let me know if it's still causing any, or if it's still too quiet in comparison with either the background audio or the game audio when it plays. If we're finding the game audio too low, actually I'm gonna reduce the game audio a little bit too while I'm here in OBS. So give me one sec. Let's try that. So I'll look out for feedback for that in a little bit, but let me continue on with this for the moment. So we're only going to do a single audio from this ever, so this is always going to use the close button. So I'm going to get rid of the duplicate next button here. I still want all the other functionality of a dialogue system. So let's, yeah, I think the rest of this can stay. We'll need to, it's going to be a bit of a mess. I'm going to come back to this part actually in a little bit when I can think on just how to avoid having so much duplicate code. I think I'm going to want to give the dialog panel its own class actually, and yeah, let's do that. I think I'm going to want to give this a class name so that I can then extend it and just update a few things if I need to. Dialog panel. So I'll make a new script. Let's attach the current one. One second here. Okay, I'm just going to turn my mic down slightly now. Go a little bit less than this new volume. Let's try maybe there. See if it's a little better. But I'm supposedly louder now, so that's good. Okay, so let's find the dialog panel here so I can duplicate it. The script, I mean. And call this clue dialog panel. Clue dialog panel will extend dialog panel, and I'll just get rid of everything at the moment. Actually, we'll need to overwrite the ready so it's not listening for all the same events. We're going to have to make a new event that it listens for. I'll still need check button. That'll still need to be there. So the only thing I think we'll need here. Okay, so we'll need a new event for dialogue to just do a clue dialogue. So let's just do that for now. I'm can refactor later. Let's just get this working. So in dialog events, let's just throw it at the bottom for a moment since it'll likely change. Open clue dialog. We probably don't want to deal with an entire conversation object and thing for this because we're going to limit this to just a single message from Aster. So I'm just going to take a message string itself and then basically hard code everything else in our clue dialog panel. So we'll set up our events dialog, open clue dialog, connect that to a new function, then clue dialog, where do we know we're going to take the message and not return anything. So when we normally, we know we're already going to be in a menu, we don't need this. We do need to set up speakers, but instead of grabbing them from the conversation, we just want to call update speakers directly and have no left speaker and just Aster as the right speaker. So speakers dot none and speakers dot Aster. What are you complaining about? Okay, it's not using the message. No, that's fine. Alright, we still want the same process, so we actually don't need to override it because we're inheriting a class. Okay, so we want to call update message, but we don't want to pass a message ID, so we want to kind of duplicate this functionality, but for a specific message string. So let me just create a new function for this, and we'll see what we're going to do. So we'll just call it set message for now because we're passing a specific message. We know we'll have a message. We know it's just it's not going to be an action message or anything like that. What does update message allow me to do again? Okay, it's just making so that we don't need this because we know this is always going to have Aster as a speaker. So let's, for now, I don't know. I think, yeah, we need this. So we're just going to automatically call those lines to make sure we're always treating it as if it has a speaker. We can get this for this. We don't need to override that. We don't need to override this, but we can just call, we'll know we need to set the right speaker portrait. So this will need to be speakers.aster.rightPortrait. So we don't need this anymore. Don't need this anymore. I guess we do need this. Wait, no, we're already calling that whole function actually. So we don't need either. Perfect. Okay, but we don't need to override this function. We're going to use it as is. Update. So set message, we're going to update the message alignment. We don't actually need that anymore, but I will move that down here just to message function now and loop down there. Clear the label, clear the speaker, that's fine, because update the name, update the colors, fade non-speakers, shouldn't be necessary. This, we're going to want to, instead of saying current message, we're actually just going to use our message we're passing in. We don't have any options for these messages, so we're going to get rid of that. We still want to be able to animate the text. We still want to know if we've finished animating. We still want to show this and play its sound effects. Now we can get rid of this whole update message, and then none of the rest of this is getting overridden. So I think this can all be removed. Actually, when we show this, how do we need to make sure it's going to have the close set up? So let me take a look and just make sure we have that. Okay, that's actually going to be part of our, okay, I got it. So that is when we process, when we process options, I think process options, we know we won't have options now, but we do need to just make sure we're setting up for closing. Yeah, okay. Both these can come over to our set message function. Okay, now I think the rest of it should be good to just go away for this temporary class, or overwritten class, I guess. And then we need fade non-speakers. This because they're not getting overwritten. And same for all of this. Wait, yeah, okay. Alright, so with this, if we now call this new events dialog open clue dialog from our clues panel with our result here, then hopefully that new dialog should open. And otherwise we can, I guess, so we gotta call it emit. And then otherwise we'll say this message still for when we don't have a successful combination. So, okay, so now we want to turn this off. So no, we need to give it its own script that we just updated. So we're going to go into here and look for the clue dialog panel. And now we just got to assign all the things. So we want our message and our speaker. We're gonna skip the ones we don't need, and hopefully that'll be fine. Right portrait. Animate text. Button animation. Hit the close button, we're off next. Talking sound effects, message sound effects, auto dialog timer, auto dialog progress bar, and inner panel. Okay, so we don't want this. Okay, it's already hidden, so that should be good. And then let's for now try and reset our state slightly here and turn off actually, it's fine, we'll leave that part of it, but we'll close this notebook part just to make it a little smoother getting to that scene. Alright, let's try this again, see if our new fake dialogue works. Alright, something broke. Okay, on changed input, we just need to say if we have a next button, do this, since we don't in the slimmed down fake dialogue. Alright, fix that. So now let's just get back to our clues again. Apologies if you hear my cat. He is very needy. Yes, as you deserve. Okay, back to our clues. So now, when I do this combination, it should hopefully come up with the new dialogue. And instead, it explodes. How's these things go? So cannot hide, call hide on a null. Alright. So let's just, for now, if left portrait. Again, just from trying to slim down this duplicate copy. Alright, so let's try again. Another thing, probably similar thing. Okay, update speaker name is currently being called, which directly tries to read our current message, but we don't have that in the clues dialog world. Yeah, so what function is that from? Update speaker name is called where? Need an update message, so we must be calling it ourselves somewhere here. Yeah, so instead of that, we're just gonna hard code it to be Aster's name at the moment, so. We'll use her speaker, and we know we're gonna have the name. That should work for that part. Alright, so now let's see if there's another issue or if we've got this now. Alright, another issue. Update message colors. Okay, same thing. I think as we go down this rabbit hole, I think a better solution is to just create a temporary message from the plain text message of the clues dialog. So I'm gonna take a look at that rather than continue down this path, because it does feel like it's getting messier as we go. So let's see what that would entail. So ideally we'd be able to just use our update message which just takes a message ID. The problem is it reads it from a current conversation. So it would be nice if we could split that out into get current message, and then in our function basically just hand code that, or hard code that current message instead, right, to the one that we want to the fake message that we're trying to make her say from reading the clue or combining the clue. So let's see. So our thing set message, instead of, we're just going to call message dot new ID of, it doesn't matter in this case, clue message. The actual message will be the message we're passing in. Speaker will be speakers.aster. And what's next? Right? We won't have a follow-up ID, an action, or a sound, a special sound. Actually, that's all we need. And then let's go to our regular dialog panel. So let's split this function into, let's make a function. Update message contents, where we will pass an actual message now. We'll set our current message to that message and then continue. So now we can just, instead of setting it here, we can call update message contents, and pass in our get message. So that should keep that working. Why are you, I know it needs a return type. This is a void. So now in our clue dialog, rather than all this, we can, if we call set message, we're going to just pass this message into update message contents. And that should hopefully just handle everything without all this hand management, but we will take a look and see. Try this again. We'll need to make sure existing messages also work. Normal message seems to be fine. And something else here. Let's see. Inner panel. I think I checked the inner panel, so let's take a look. Oh, can't assign style box flat to style box texture. Why would that have changed? This might have been getting a theme from something above it that it's no longer getting, so let me take a look at that. Style box flat. That's the style box flat here. Yes, okay. So let's keep looking. So the inner panel. Okay, so that's not theme override. have a theme? Okay, it has a theme, so that's probably the issue. Probably want. I think I just need to not have this be part of notebook. I don't think it needs to be regardless. Let's see if that's all that's needed to make that work. Okay. Testing again. Same issue or new issue? Okay, new issue. Okay, this is again just about not having a left portrait. Okay, this is about not having an options container. I think what I want to do here now is actually make a scene from this dialog panel and just use that here, because that'll also avoid the issue of duplication, but without all of these extra checks, which make the code messy. So let me see how that looks if we just work on that. Save branch as scene. We want to put this not in states, but in UI. Dialog panel. Save. And then let's delete our clue dialog panel. Duplicate this again. Move it here. Rename it to clue dialog panel. And then still update to our overridden script. Actually, yeah, okay. Dialog panel. And then okay, that causes an issue of all these things breaking. So rather than that, I think I can get rid of this new script entirely and just add one function to our dialog panel now the way we split things out. So let's undo this. Back to this. Let's go in here. So we really just need, oh, but we do need to stop. So we need to have a way to stop those other events from happening. So I think we need to add a bool. We can make an export on is this a export var, is this our clue dialog panel? So is clue panel is a bool, which is false to start, or by default. So then, if we're not, is clue panel, then we can do all these things still. And then otherwise, okay, this one too. And then otherwise, we connect to our new open clue dialog panel, which will just be this function still. Here for now. And then set message can come over as well. So now that is all this functionality copied over. So we're going to actually get rid of this function, this script we made. Return to dialog panel. We don't actually need this class name anymore, so we won't have it for now. And then a couple of the things that we had done, we don't need to check if this has a left portrait here anymore. You don't need to check this one. Cut out these workarounds we had been starting to add in. I think there was one for close button as well, or next button. Yeah, so I don't need this one anymore. And now I think we just need to click this one in the scene and say, yes, you are the clues panel. So that means it won't listen for all the regular dialogue events, it'll only listen for its special one, but otherwise treat everything the same except for be on top of things. So let's see if this does it. So regular dialogue is not coming up. So something we gotta look at still. But let's see if we can get this one to come up. All right, no, I think when we did the creating it into a scene, it lost its position in the scene. So let's go see about fixing that. So what's our border here? I think you need to go back to your anchor spot over here. Oh, right. Let me just copy actually the transform from this one. I don't know why that one was not set up in the same way. I'm sure they were copies of each other at some point, but you know how it goes. So we'll paste our position, and that fixes that issue. This looks like it otherwise should be correct now, at least for this scene. I think, yeah, stronger, 20 by 1080. All right, so why in this part is it not full screen? Can we just do that? Yeah, that should fix that. And we'll do the same for that. I want this. All right. Let's make this invisible again, which is actually nice because now if we want to edit this dialog panel, it'll be visible to start versus having to come in here and do it in this scene. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, so let's see if the regular dialogue has returned. Yeah, it was just off screen. And let's try our clues again. All right, that's closer. What is the issue with this? My guess is it is because we are paused, and this is probably reliant on being not paused. So that's my working assumption. Yeah, there we go. If I hit escape and escape again, which shouldn't work while this is open, which will need fixed, but then it will actually finish the event. But it does seem like it doesn't want to close, so let's dive in and see if we can figure what's up with that. Okay. I will kill it from Godot because it doesn't want to let me close. Okay, so that's closer. A lot less code, which is nice. We're using the same function. What needs changed? So is it perhaps, maybe we need to debug if close is being called at all. Well, we need to first make sure that the the animate text, does it need process, or do we need the whole? I think we need the whole dialogue panel to process. So we probably want to do that only on our clue one, because we don't actually want pausing the other one not to work. So if we go to process, and instead of inherit, we'll just set this one to always. Let's see that as a first test. Maybe that's related to the button. The next button's not working. So I think I'm gonna need to reset my... Yeah, I've already got the clues, so I don't think... Oh, okay. Well, we can test it with this message now. Okay, so it worked now in the animation and stuff, but it's still not closing, so at least we can test that more specifically. So what's going on here? Why would it not close? We call our process options. We don't have options. We don't have a follow by ID. It should be showing the close button, grabbing focus, and checking auto dialog. We don't have auto dialog enabled for a moment, so that should be fine. Close a button did seem to have focus. It looked like it was reacting when I was hitting enter. So the close button is its event not working how it should be or something. Let's take a look. So we close this. If finished animating, then we process the action of the current message if it's got one. Well, regardless if it's got one. So let's double check that. So we would give it our message. It has no action, so it won't be staying open, so it's going to return false. And let's go back to where we were. Let's see, maybe it thinks the animation's never finishing for this one for some reason. So let's just make sure we know which path it's taking. So let's add some prints in. And see what we're getting. Okay, so I'll go back to the journal. If we try this again, I click next, what did we get? We got nothing, but all right, well that would be the issue. Let's see why that would not be triggering. Okay, this is on next button pressed. Is it the same thing on close button pressed? It is not, so that's probably the issue there actually, is that we should have a close button, not a next button in this case. Which I still need to decide if those even need to be separate at all, because kind of can just be handled by is there a new message or not, but okay. Let's try this for real this time. So go to terminal again. And we got finished animating. Okay, so we know that it's at least in the right space. Okay, the reason is because it calls close dialog event, which is, we're not actually in the real dialog system. So we want to actually just, if we are the clue panel, we want to call close itself. Otherwise, we can call this event, and that should fix it. Let's give that a try. So back to our channel, try again, and we hit enter, and perfect. Okay, great. So that works for this fake dialogue with way less duplicated code and stuff, just 1 or 2 extra checks, which is good. So we have, actually I'd like to just test real quick. If I go back in, I'd like to test if you do invalid clues, just make sure that works. Since I now have the 3rd clue. These two mean nothing together, not quite sure what to think of that. Okay, great. Alright, for some reason I can't click that, so I will have to double check. Okay, so that's good. Now, when I successfully make a clue, it's going to go to the bottom right. It should do the dialogue, but we want to make it animate over to the left before the dialogue plays, ideally. So let me get back to that state. If I have to do this too many times, I'll have to do something debuggy to be able to get to the state sooner, but I can do it again for now. So let me get my first clues. So now when we do this, the clue will show up here, but I believe the dialogue will happen immediately, and then the clue will stay over here. So let's see how that handles. Yeah. So now if I click this, these 2 slots are full, but it does put it back to the clues, which is good. Okay, yeah, and then we have the issue of, okay. It's getting there. Starting to be the change that we want. Okay, so let's take a break from that for a moment and work on just having, if you hover 1, its description shows up down here, because that was another of the change we wanted to start making. And actually, I will commit what I've got, so give me 1 moment just to not have too much craziness after, so I just need a moment to review this. I guess I will bring it over here. So we made some changes to the game scene. Oh wait, I'm gonna need, I think, it's the transition system re-enabled. Let me just make sure. Yeah, okay. So a lot of this is because we made the dialogue panel its own scene, it's all getting moved out of this scene. Looks like some of the animation resources as well. Makes sense. Cases panel should be re-disabled just to get us back into the working state. So, I mean, re-enabled back instead of the clues panel. That's our default state. I think that as well. So let's double check that. Let's see, I'm moving the animation state, dialogue thing. Okay, journal panel, no, that should not be. So, oops. Okay. And yeah, so we changed the name of those on the clues panel, makes sense. Positioning got changed. Yeah, okay, that's the new one. Okay, that all looks good. Let's just check the code. So just everything moved over, it worked, so that's good. It seems like we're going to keep the signal for now, so I'm going to just move it up. Separate it like that, that's fine. So the clues panel, we had done that change. We had separated out the create clue, so we could use it in both cases. We have the new dialogue, and then, yeah, that's fine for now. And dialogue panel has our new bool, separating out which events to listen to based on it. Yeah, the new supporting function is there. Separating out update message contents just to be used by the clue panel. And then this one more check down here that if it's the clue panel, close the actual panel we're on. Otherwise, we need that dialog event for other things. Okay, that seems good. So let me just push that up. I'll get the screen back. So begin work of new brainstorm system with clue dialog panel work. Okay, that's good enough for me. Okay, good. All right, so now we wanted to do the, if we're looking again at our notebook, our clues panel, we have our clue description. So we want this to just be filled whenever we're hovering over one of our clues or our knowledge pieces, however we refer to it. So let's get that opened up. So UI, knowledge button. So I'm assuming this has some sort of mouse entered event. Yeah, mouse exited. So it will, okay, we don't, we're gonna want it to, clues panel will probably want to know which clue is being highlighted or not. So we'll want it to call it parent. Think about this. So yeah, because we're gonna get the event from this for sure. So let's do that first, I guess, is add, one moment, just turn off the alarm. All right. Do we want mouse entered or focus entered? I think we want focus entered because we want that to also show, because we're trying to support controllers with our game. Might need both. Let's do focus entered for now, and we'll go from there. Okay, so yeah, we're just connected on the same thing here. And again, just let's get it to work dirty first before we try and make it better. Okay, so the problem is, or not the big problem, but the clues themselves can be in any number of places. It can be in our knowledge list or in one of these containers. So we really need to, I think, just track the clues panel by passing it into them, like so that they can know about it. So I'm gonna say add clues panel as a thing here, and whenever we make a clue, we're just going to have to give it the clues panel. Whenever we make a clue button, the clues panel will need to handle telling it about it. Okay, so in here, when do we do this? So whenever we call button instance.knowledge, we're also going to want to call button instance dot clues panel equals, I forget what this is in Godot. This self, I feel like it looks like self. Let's try that. And actually did that. Okay, yeah, so that should be the only place that we are creating this button instance now, since we had separated it out, I believe. Double check. Yeah, okay. So now it knows the clues panel, and the clues panel needs to know what is being hovered and probably clear out the description. The description will be from its knowledge. So let's go here for knowledge. We don't just want the ID in the message, we also want some sort of hint. We'll call it, and that means we'll do get that argument, comma, new hint, or hint equals new hint. So yeah, and now our knowledge, our clues can have a hint associated with them. So the button already tracks the knowledge, that's fine. So we'll need a, let's just add to the bottom for now. Function hover knowledge, and we'll say to which knowledge, and then we want to set the clue description equal text equals which knowledge dot hint. Okay, so when we are hovering a hint, we want to do that, and then when we function unhover knowledge, doesn't matter which one, we're just going to clear out the do they have a clear? Yeah, we can just clear out the text there. Okay, so then the button itself, on focus entered, we'll call the clues panel dot hover knowledge and pass its knowledge. And if we unfocus, clues panel dot unhover knowledge. So now the only thing is the knowledge has this new hint thing, so we need to, wherever we're calling knowledge.new, we will need to figure out and add some hints. Knowledge.new, I'm just searching in my Visual Studios or OSS code, I guess. Alright, so we have that in our clue combinations and our knowledge manager. So let's go take a look at those two things. So our knowledge manager, yeah, house the click there. And then our clue combinations is a data, clue combinations. So I will put in something rough for now, and then we will rework it later. So for one, these should be translatable, so I'm going to just fix that here. Something to test, so let's say I can tell Lily my mentor now. Just to give you some information on what you're supposed to do with that clue. We'll change that later as appropriate. And then let's make this translatable and add our hint. What is this one? This is about Mort stashing passwords, which is great. I should check out objects in the server room for potential hiding spots. Hopefully that's beyond not too long, otherwise I'll just cut it down for now. But alright, so we got those, and then we wanted to go to the knowledge manager. So when we learn knowledge, we're passing in specifically the ID and message, which is not the best. So knowledge data, we're going to need to add in a hint as well. So I'll need to clear my save for this. So learn is being called by this event, so we're gonna need, I think we should, where are we calling this? Oh, because I think we're gonna want to change this to be a knowledge, an actual knowledge object, I mean, not the individual parameters. So let's see, knowledge dot learn dot emit in my code. Okay, there's only one place, which is in our what's it, our clues panel. So instead of passing in the resulting knowledge ID and message, we should just be passing in the actual resulting knowledge object, which, so that won't be an issue. So why has this started to complain? Okay, 1 second. So, okay, no, that's fine. I will look at that in a second. So, just to stop jumping around as much. So here, instead of learning ID and knowledge, we're going to want to pass in knowledge. We need to see what the difference between these two is after. So let me add it to do. Maybe an area to clean up. So then, yeah, now rather than this now taking ID and message, we're going to take knowledge directly. That knowledge directly won't be calling new, it'll just be setting it to this one that we already have. And we'll be using its ID to check. Okay, that's actually going to override this one, so we need to say new knowledge. And then new knowledge.id. Okay. We actually don't need to do that. We can just emit the new knowledge itself directly. Okay. Let's see what else. Okay, so let's continue. We've got our clue combinations have their new hints set up. The knowledge manager is taking the new hints. The knowledge has it, the events have it. Okay, and then this was complaining before, but I think we fixed whatever it was mad about. So I think we're good to test this. So let's give this a try. And now if I focus oh, nope, something. Okay, this is because I need to clear out my saves. So let me just do that real quick. Let's of just my knowledge, and I'll clear the rest in game for ease. Trying this again then. Alright, so let's get back to the knowledge system and then we can take a look and see if what happened. What is continuing to happen? Oh, I think I had somehow paused it. Okay. Nope, something's... Oh, apparently I clicked a breakpoint. That would explain. Unpause. Let's continue. Okay, so getting to our clues, we just gotta get back to the bureau. something went wrong. I did not get my clues at all this time. Take a look at the errors. So, alright, so the action that we're trying to learn, so there must be somewhere that I have actually the, okay. I do have a few cases where I needed to call the learn. I'm going to need to take a look at those. So in conversations, Lillian, advanced.knowledge.learn. Okay, so these actually need a third piece of data now, which is the hint. And we should also make sure they're wrapped in TRs, even if this isn't necessarily all finalized, but so what hint do we want for these ones? Let's just do the same one for both. Or no, maybe rough clues for now, but that's how we iterate. Okay, so there's those two. I think there's one more in here. Yeah. All right. And then do we have a few other cases? We do, so let me just do them now just to keep things working. So let's look for this again. Okay. And then I think we're going to need, let me see, so that one we handled, that one we handled, that one we did not yet, so I need to just go to journal shake, which is in where? Scripts. So onLearn here just needs to take a knowledge that it now ignores instead of the message and string that it now ignores. Okay. That is good. Okay, let's see if that works now. So if we go into our clues, I have no clues. Oh wait, I think I need to reset because she didn't give me clues last time because of the invalid state of things. Let's try this again. Alright, so we'll get our clues from this, hopefully. And it looks like we did not. No. Okay, what's wrong now? So, same kind of issue as it was expected with one argument called with 3. Signal learn. Oh, I think I know the issue. The issue is I'm passing these as individual arguments and not as an actual knowledge. So we just need to wrap them up. So just give me a moment for this. Okay, and then we have another one with Mort here. Let me check my other code. Is there anything else? Okay, no, that should be it. So I'm gonna need to try this again from the start, I think, to get the clues. Okay. 3rd time's the charm. Okay, take your bets. Did we get it this time? Huzzah. Alright. So good news is we did get it. And it looks like if I focus on them, we do get the messages. The only issue then is we also probably want to trigger those with mouse center as well. So let's go do that. So we'll add the new events from the knowledge button. We'll just call the hover as well for these. Yeah, let's see if that does it. Okay. We'll need to obviously make that not white on beige for ease of reading, but for now, it does show up, and then I can still. Wait, now it does not show up with the focus. That's weird. Oh, wait, it does. Strange. I think it's probably that it might be the order of when it gets the enter event versus the exit event, because it's calling the clear. So we may need to handle it differently. Yeah, because if I go between them like that, it's fine. Like, oh wait, weird. No, something else. Strange. Okay. I think we want on mouse exited to only trigger if the button doesn't have focus. Because otherwise we're having the issue of our virtual cursor tries to move the mouse around if it can, and I think that could be just triggering things in a weird way. So let's just see if that's it. Back to our clues. Mouse still seems to work fine. Nope, similar issue here. Okay. Always. It doesn't work if I go back and forth. If I go to the other one, it does. Okay. I think I'm gonna take a quick bio break while I think about this as well. So let me put on a quick pause on the stream to do that. So I'll be back in just a few minutes, everyone. Let's test pausing. Alright, I'm back. Welcome back, everyone. So, when we left off, I'm trying to figure out why mousing over these buttons works fairly consistently, but if I instead use arrow keys for focus, it seems to get set once until I leave, switch to a different button and come back to the other button. A weird way to say that, but I have to basically not come back to the same button right away. So something's gone funky with the focus tracking events here, so I'm going to just start by adding some debugs in to try and get a better idea of what's going on there. So let's go do that. So let's add some prints in here. Focus entered on I guess we'll say name. I don't know what that will show. I think the nodes won't be very clear, but at least maybe we'll be able to see if the two different nodes are doing different events. Or we can see the ordering of the events perhaps. So focus exited on name, mouse entered on name, and we'll say mouse exited on name, and a specific one for if it did not have focus. Alright, so that should give us a little bit of information about what's going on here. So let's take a look. Back at our clues, I enter the bottom one and leave. We should get 2 events. Yeah, so that's button 175. And top one worked as expected. That's button 174. Alright, and then if I instead move my focus over to it, did nothing happen? So when I move my focus over to it, that's strange. What is... So I got events for focus entered on button 177, which is already a little strange because these events should not be present on it. I was assuming maybe that is the notebook that I clicked here first, but it shouldn't be present on that. So I'm not sure. I guess the names change when I think it's when I click this, it's actually refreshing the clue panel, and these buttons technically are getting erased and re-added. So it does make sense, it just was confusing for a minute. So let's try it again. So let me just arrow down to this one. Do I get an event? So I get a focus exited on the previous button, focus entered on this button, makes sense. Then a mouse entered on this button, but then a mouse exited on this button. So that should be fine because, yeah, we had focus, so it didn't actually clear it, but we still didn't get the text here. So we focus exited, then entered, mouse entered, and then exited. So let's take a look at our, click everything except this again, just to have a better look. So when we unhover, we clear it. Let's track when this event is being triggered. And might as well add a tracking for this one as well. Print setting hint 2 and then our hint here. That way we can have a better view of what's going on this side as well. So I'll restart this. So checking out our clues, we've got mouse over, does that do what we expect? We mouse entered it, we set the hint to it, we exited it, which didn't have focus, so we cleared the description, worked fine. Now when I arrow over to the other button, what did we get? We got focus entered it, we set the hint, mouse entered it, we set the hint again. Not the best, but it's fine. And then it says mouse exited it again, which is strange when it should, oh, I guess I did drag off, but which actually is, oh, and that is not getting rid of the text because it's focused, so that makes sense. So now if I arrow up, looks pretty much the same, which is good. Arrow down again, what happens now? So now we exited button 174, it did not have focus, so we cleared the description. Then we entered 175, then we set the description. So I think it is just a timing event issue because you can see the last thing here was setting it, but it's not actually set at the bottom here. So we need to handle this a little smarter. We need to say, you know, which button is hovered, and if it's none of them, clear it, not just if one of them becomes unhovered. How should we do that? How should we go about this? We want to say you can only have one hovered at a time. So let's just try and make something here. So we go hovered knowledge button equals null, I guess. We're starting with nothing hovered. Then when we hover knowledge, we're going to pass in the knowledge and the button. I guess we can just pass in the button and read the knowledge. So let's have its own class. Yeah, so we're going to pass in a knowledge. We'll put this to a knowledge button just to be more correct. Which button, and pass in the knowledge button. Then in this case we always want to just set it still, so we can say which button dot knowledge dot hint. That should be fine. And then we want to say hovered knowledge button equals which button. And then when we unhover a button, we'll only clear it if that was the current button, because if we've already caught the hover knowledge, then we don't want to clear it. So if hovered knowledge button equals which button, then we'll clear description. So now in knowledge button, we just need to actually pass in the self. These, actually no, we only pass in the self, yeah, so not addition. And then we shouldn't need, no, do we still need this? Yeah, we still need this because we only want the mouse exit event to trigger if we're not currently focusing on the we actually only want this to trigger if no clue has focus, actually. So maybe we need to handle this one a little different. So let's, maybe that's part of the problem. So mouse away from knowledge, to which button. And then if hover knowledge button equals, one second, how does this work? Maybe I don't need it because so what I want to do is, if I go back to the game, if I'm focused on this button Oh, it broke because I'm in the middle of stuff. But if I'm focused on this button, and then I mouse over it and mouse off, nothing should happen. If I mouse over this button while focused on this button, I want to update the description to this button, and then when I mouse, if I mouse off entirely, it should still go away, I think. So actually, I think it's not, if this button has focus. No, it is if this button does not have focus. Okay, I think we don't need this now, because we've already wrapped this in a additional check of only do this if it's the button that we're currently caring about. Let's see if this fixed anything there. Mouse over. Alright, so it worked, but when we cleared it, we didn't clear which... Sorry. I think we need to clear the which button is being hovered. Is clear not doing what I think it is doing? Am I being confused? Well, it's not quite what I want, so let's just be explicit anyways to be safe. Let's do some more debugging. Hover worked, hover off works, hover over works. Okay. That looks to work as expected now. So if I do these two, we get the new dialog, and we can hover over them here to get their hints as well, which is good. Click them to send them back here. Click around. Okay, so it's getting pretty good. Now, ideally we can have a wait after the new clue is created before the dialog happens, but it needs to be some sort of blocking wait, because we don't want to keep accepting input while it's kind of just waiting for a second to play the dialogue. So let's start working on that. Before that, I should commit what I've done again. So let me just do that real quick. So viewing the changes. So we want to add hints for our clues. Looks fine. See if it does not run. Okay. Use knowledge objects directly for the learn event. And let's see if there's anything else. Show hints in clue panel this last part as well. And show hints and clue panel. Actually, I don't need these debugs still, so let's clean those two out. Don't need all these prints now. Okay, that looks good. You always see blank new line tabs as soon as you finish a commit. It's just how it goes. Okay, so now I wanted to work on making it a little smoother in terms of we want it to, as I mentioned, we want the new clue to show up for a moment first, then for the dialogue to play rather than them to happen at the same time. So I think I'm just going to add a timer to the brainstorm panel that will trigger the dialogue. So let's start with that. So I'm in a timer here. This will be called trigger clue dialogue timer for clarity. And I guess 1.5 seconds. We don't want it to auto start or anything like that. One shot, I think, yep, we want it to stop when it finishes. We'll set up a reference to that in our script here, our clue panel, clues panel. Trigger clue dialogue timer. Make sure we drag that on. So now when we successfully create the clue, we're going to want to, instead of, or we do want to add it immediately to this results container, but then we want to start the timer. And what else? We want now that this timer, when it okay, when it okay, yeah, so we want to track this result, and when the timer finishes, then we want to trigger this. So I think we can trigger the failure case right away if you make an incorrect combination. So I think we actually just want to trigger this when the timer finishes. So let's take a look at how we want to do that. So first, let's set up the event from the timer. So we go over to node and set up its timeout event. We want it to trigger to the clues panel. So we can go to source to get close and select this. So now in that event, when it's finished, we want to, yeah, so we're going to call this, but we need to track this result now in a variable, so I should call it latest result string. So latest result will be what we trigger on. So now latest result equals the result here, and they'll actually only call this in the success case, rather than in both cases. Okay, so with that, now the dialog will show up a second and a half later. That'll only happen in the event that we were successful. If we weren't successful, it happens right away. So the only thing is that this will also happen as same way if we've already combined this, which is also not ideal. In that case, it would be better if it triggered right away. So I'm just going to add a to-do to track that for now. Or maybe that'll be fine because we can eventually shake the existing clue or something like that to show them, hey, this is the clue that was made from that. So it'll need a little more work in the future for that, but we'll just make note of it for now. So we've created a button on the bottom left. During this wait, we also want that button to transition over to the left side. So we need to handle that probably on the, do we put that on the button itself? Kind of needs to be handled here. I'm just trying to think of, we know the position of the resulting clue panel. We don't necessarily need it to go to the exact spot on the left side panel. Let me just bring this up for a second. So it needs to come over here. It can probably just like go left and up a bit, and then we call our update at the end of the timer as well. We can have a reference to it. I'm just not sure if, let me drag one in here to test. I'm not sure if we can just have an animation of its movement or its position property and it will handle it nicely or not with UI stuff with Godot. So let's see, so scenes, UI, knowledge button, we throw that on our center container here. I think it's not, that's where we want it to start. But if we try and move this, it's not going to move because it's in a center container. So we would need to pop it out of that. And then are we able to move it? Then we'd be able to move it. So let's get rid of this. Let's get our transitions back on. We can turn back off our clues panel. And turn back off our notebook. So we sort of want that. So when the timeout happens, we open the dialog, then we can call our update, and that will at least like clear out or like actually set everything into the left list correctly. What does clear do? Does it also, yeah, so it also will clear up the left side. We'll want it to also, if there is a, no, I think that's fine. So actually, when does, no, okay, yeah, that's fine. So we don't need to do anything more there. Now we just want to make sure that once we've added this object and we've returned success, then we want to get that button instance again. So let's track our latest button or like new clue. Say new clue fire new clue knowledge button. So for the new clue, we want to track that here instead. So new clue equals create clue. We add it to this results include container. Once we've triggered the timer, we want to new clue. We want to update its parent. Set parent. reparent it to, can we just reparent it to our carts object, our clues panel? I think we can. Let's try that. So we'll reparent it to the self, and then we'll want it to move to, I think, knowledge button. We'll add an animation player to it. And that animation will be its move animation. Create new move. We'll track its position. It will I think if I look at the clues panel, that starts in the top left, so we should just have to see. Okay, so the brainstorm panel, is that also on the top left? Yeah. So then we know the resulting clues container. Where is its transform? Because that's where we want this to start. Here is 0. You are at. That doesn't sound right. I actually have a transform. Okay. So let's see. So we want it to move from the combined position of these things. So I can actually just add them up, I guess. I don't need to look it over anymore. So transform. Okay, so that's at 0. Brainstorm panel is here, so I'll copy this to start. At 0 seconds. That doesn't look like the same value. 1 second. 1042. But that has to be added to this, which is a +2 plus 698. Selecting the right object helps. So +2. And I set the number, what was it? It's 698. And I think this is not, no, I'm setting the actual object, not the animation here. So +698. And then for reset, we want it to still be at 0. Yeah, okay. Then after a second, we want it to be in its new position, which should be, we'll say here. So I'll copy this value and paste that in as the target destination. So yeah, it'll just kind of boop, transition over to the left. So let's try this out and see. So to trigger that, we go back to our script. We're going to reparent it to free it from its container, and we're going to call it, I guess we'll add a export on this to track its animation player. remove animation there, and then we'll let it handle its own movement, so we don't need to know the name of the animation or anything. So transition, we need to return anything, so we're going to say move animation dot play move. Why is this complaining now? Could not parse clues panel. Oh, it's because I'm in the middle of this. That's all. So new clue dot transition. So it'll spend a second moving up to the left, and then after 1.5 seconds, we'll call update, which will clear. I think we'll need to, yeah, I think we do need to go. If we have a new clue, we're going to queue free that as well, since it's going to get created when we update the list. Are you all happy now? Yeah, okay, this looks like it's working. So our code is not complaining, I mean. You're good now. So let's go to our knowledge button, just drag on our move animation before I forget. Onto that, and let's see if this works. So I think I've already done my clue. Let me just check. So I think I'm going to need to, yeah, I'm going to need to, actually, no, I don't have it. I think it will do it again now. Oh, something wrong. Anyway, so we figured it out. No, call reparent on a null value. So new clue is null at this point. Why is it null? So, all right. So we're only doing new clue if this was new knowledge. So we, in that case, should only call these if we have a new clue, because otherwise this is just for when we're redoing a clue that we've already done, where we might want to do like the shake event or such. Okay, I'll just make a note of that actually. I'll do else. Actually, now that we've set up this, will hopefully be less of an issue because the knowledge button will have a animation player, so it'll be able to just control its own shake, so that's nice. Okay, but with that said, I will need to start the game over again to get back to these clues, so let's do that. Okay, so we've got our clues. We'll see what part of this process breaks now, if anything. So we're expecting that a new clue will show up here. It'll start immediately transitioning up, and then a second and a half later, the dialog will come up. So let's see. All right, so obviously needs some polish, but it did work in terms of what it was supposed to do. So that's a pretty great pass. And it looks like it did the clear correctly, so we're ready for new clues and stuff. So aside from needing to smooth that out, have a bit of a wait probably before it starts to move, which I can add next. I'm happy with that. Okay, so let's do a little bit of polish then. so for the move animation, let's set it to be 1.5 also for now, seconds long. Let's move these over so that it's ending at the same time instead. So we'll wait half a second, then move over. Obviously we still need to block the screen still, so you're not like clicking things while this is going on. So I'll have to take a look at that, but this will make it a little less jank. It'll still be a little jank, but we'll see. We can kind of play with the easing maybe. Let's see what it looks like if I play with cubic. That makes it a little smoother, so I'm going to start with that. And then I had said I want to set up a shake animation as well, so let's do that while I'm here. So for shake, we're going to want a new property track for the knowledge button, but it will be specifically its rotation. I'm just going to make a real rough effect for now, polish it later as per usual. Let's say, so at 3 seconds, we'll rotate probably 20 degrees one way. At 0.6 seconds, we'll rotate 20 degrees the other way. And you can see how that looks. So we need to update its pivot position to be its center point. One moment, we have some water. Alright, so we need to set its pivot to its center point. So that should just be its size divided by 2. So let's say 112 divided by 2. No need to math myself right now. That still did not work. What did I do wrong? Oh, I see. I accidentally set that for the use pointer, not for the knowledge button itself. So let's just do that again. Now when we animate that, there we go. Gives it a little, it's probably a little much right now. Make it a little subtler. Yeah, and that's good enough for a rough thing. Okay. So we'll make another helper function. Just call it shake, which we'll call its shake function or animation. Okay, good. So if we go here, if we don't have a new clue, then this means we've already found this clue before. So we need to find which of our clues matches that clue. So we have our knowledge list, but that's not actually... So we can go through our knowledge list like this, but we would want to cast them to be the actual knowledge buttons, see if that matches our what do we get from it? So this tells us which combination was already matched, but we need to get the ID from that. So just again, as something temporary, let's say our already combined ID string, just to keep it simple. And then in here, already combined ID equals combination dot resulting knowledge dot ID, because we want to know what one is already in our list. So then else we want to go through our list of knowledge. Our list of knowledge children. And I think we can just cast it here. So for clue knowledge button in knowledge.children, if clue dot knowledge dot ID equals our already combined ID, clue dot shake. So not the most elegant, but let's see if this does it, and then we can see if we want to change anything. If I go here, I say, let's try and combine these again. I want Mort as my mentor to shake. It does. And then she says, I've already figured out Mort is my mentor. And we get the list reset. Okay, so that's pretty good. So now the main thing is, if I do these two things, I shouldn't be able to click and start, changing things. It's not the end of the world, but it could get it weird if you like switch pages, right? And then this comes up after. So as soon as I start the animation timer, I want to have a block come up, basically. So how the best way to do that? So I can't have that in the clues panel because that is a child of, like, some of these things are higher in order. Or I could do a clues panel if I did it as a canvas layer, maybe. Maybe let me test that, because it would be nice to have it be more owned by the thing that should own it. So if I add a canvas layer child here, and this canvas layer, I just add a panel to it and set that to the whole screen. I think, obviously I won't have it be gray later, but does that actually block things correctly? Yeah, okay, so I can't click through that even though it's in the middle. So we turn off that canvas layer. This panel doesn't need to be a panel. I actually can just change it to control. I believe that'll still block. Let me test that. Yeah, so that still blocks, and I will try and click the quit button anyways, but that's fine. Blocking, control, clue animation blocker. We'll say that. So now in clues panel, I'll make reference out to this here. Why are you complaining? No, okay. Export bar clue animation blocker canvas where. So as soon as we start our animations, so when we finish our animations, our timer, then we want to turn that off. So I'll call hide here. But as soon as we start our animation, then we will want to show this, or unhide it. It's not actually visual, but and hopefully that will block you from doing anything while this animation plays. So I can click things normally here. I go here, I try and do an existing clue, and then I might not have dragged on my canvas layer. Yeah. So let's try that again. So we got our clues, we click the existing ones, and then as soon as we do, we try and click stuff. Doesn't work. Why is the save button open the whole time there? That's interesting. Okay. I think that is happening because when the dialogue, one of our confirmed events for saving is when your dialogue closes, because normally if you like learn something here, you finish your dialogue, you want to be able to, I need to see why I can't click that. 1 second. I think the save icon is blocking clicks, which it shouldn't be anyways. Let me see if I can fix that. But yeah, I think two things. One is I think the save icon is coming up because when we close our clue dialog, I think that's also triggering saving. So I'm just gonna make a note of that and as a future issue to look at. So that is clue dialog closing triggers save when still in notebook. Should wait for notebook to close. And then the other thing I was seeing was just the save icon. I think it's blocking clicks, so let me make sure I turn that off. So, mouse noir. Let's see if that fixes a few of the click oddities I was having there with the next button. Yeah, that seems to not be getting blocked now. Okay, that's cool. So got the animations in for this. I think I'm gonna commit that now. So let me do that. Looking at the changes, we have the new clue dialog timer and animation blocker. We're tracking the latest result, the new clue, and the already combined ID. I think I'm going to add it to do just to evaluate this again with a fresh mind layer, just to make sure there's not a cleaner way. But otherwise, you know, we clean up the clue if we're when we do an update, we are handling the new triggering of the timer, blocking, you know, other clicks. If this was a new clue, we call a transition. If it's not, we find it and call a shake. And we handle when the dialog timer ends. We open the clue dialog and call our update and get rid of the blocker. That all looks good. Knowledge button itself just has its new animation player and is calling its 2 new animations when we need it to. The scene changes, we fix that save icon thing, added our new references, and then added our actual timer animation blocker. Looks good. And our knowledge button. Oh yeah, this is because we added the animation player into it, so it's got all the animation data and the new position stuff. Okay, looks good. So that can be add knowledge button animations and delay clue dialogue until animations are finished. All right, cool. So that's good. There's still some more code refactoring maybe to do, but that's what I was hoping to get done in terms of this feature. So let's take a look at what I want to do next. So let me see it again. Let's go back to it. So I think I want to see what rotating, how much effort it would be to add a shake animation for our inventory items next, because one of the things is if I get a new inventory item and then you click the toast, if your inventory is collapsed, it'll expand it, and that's good. But if it's already open, it doesn't necessarily do anything visible. So we were thinking that if we click that toast, the new item you got should shake just to help kind of draw your eye to it. So I want to just take a look at, we've got shake animations for things in the top bar already, so I know it can be done. Just got to see what that looks like in terms of implementation here. So let's take a look. So hide the transitions for a second. So if I go to this button, it has an animation player, which we've got scale and rotation. Yeah, okay. So let me copy this animation player and we have a thing in the scene here, but we don't actually use that when it gets cleared out at the beginning of the game. We use this separate item button scene. So I want to give it its own shake animation player. If I play the shake, it has the same thing with the pivot needs updated. So we're going to look for that. So in its transform, it's 128 by 128, so the pivot will be at 64, 64. So if I play with animation, it does a nice little shake. That's good. Should probably also be set to this kind of ratio. Make sure that doesn't break anything. Okay, so then let me revert my changes to the game scene here, because I don't think think I'll actually need to make a change in here. Or am I already? No, this is unenabled or redone, and I think there was another thing that was blocking my click. I might have already redone it. I will see in a minute. So these item buttons have their shake effect now, but we need to know when to call that. So when we click a toast, what actually happens there? Actually, this might be a toast manager thing. So I'm going to go to our scripts, managers, toast manager. So inventory toast. So we have the inventory toast that when we click it, we call on inventory clicked, which is simply calling expand inventory.emit. So I think we're going to want, we want to handle this here. So this doesn't know what object it is at this point though. All it does is expand the inventory. Okay. How would I do this? Any of these? No, none of these know what gets clicked. It might, maybe one thing I could look at is, do we want this to play automatically on start? You kind of don't want to once you have items, but you kind of want it when the item's first added. So when we add this, maybe we can start there and see how we're going to handle it. So if we go, how do we add an item? We go to our inventory. Does the inventory panel handle it? So let's look at where we do our events.inventory.main. Okay. So we should have an actual inventory script. Where is that? That is in source scripts. So it's in the root. Okay. So when we get an item, what do we do with it? We call gain adds the item, then just, okay, so we're just calling refresh the item. We don't actually tell the inventory UI anywhere. This is a new item. It doesn't have any reference to that. So we're going to need to have the item buttons listening for an event that will trigger their own shake, so that when you click or do this kind of thing, we can just call that event rather than trying to pass things around, because it would be too much of a change. So in inventory, we'll add a new signal, shake, item. In our item button, we're going to have to add a ready function, and it will listen for events.inventory.shake. We'll connect to a new function we'll make now called shake. Function shake will we'll have a new reference to our shake animation player. To the button needs its reference added. So if this event triggers and that this item is passed in, oh wait, so when we call shake, actually shake needs to take the item, and then we need to compare that to our buttons item, which currently is not being tracked here. Oof. Okay. How does that work? So when we click this, what is getting called? Oh no, we only have a mouse enter, mouse exit. Okay, I think the item button is going to need to track which item it has, or it is, what item it is associated with. So let's assume that for now. Item. We say if item.id equals shake, item.id then equals shake. Alright, so when we make an item button, we need to assign the actual items associated with it. So that's how we were doing it before. When an item button getting pressed. Item button getting pressed. Okay, so we were just binding it to the ID, so we could do that, but then we don't have that reference. No. Button dot. So actually, we need to make a type for this. Name item button, and then this needs to become item button, and then we need to say button dot item equals item. Okay. So now the buttons will know their item. If we call the event with their item, we will compare the ID to make sure it's this one, and then that's good. So now, after we call inventory.refresh display, we're going to want to call inventory.shake our new item. So we got a new item, we want to shake, that'll be good. But then we also need now that in the toast still, we need to call this event when, if we click on this again. So how do we know which item it is? We're going to find it. Alright, feels a little weird, but that might work now. So let's clear our saves and go get our form and see what happens. when we get this, the inventory should already be expanded. We should see the pen shake. I'll close the inventory and then click the toast, and we should see it open and shake, hopefully. So it shakes, I close it, I click it, it opens and shakes. If I click it again, it shakes again. Now let's get a new item. Now only the new item should shake. Yeah, if I click it again, that new item shakes. If I close it, click it again, it'll open and that new item will shake. Okay, that seems pretty good. Gives you a little more feedback on what clicking that toast has done, because it's a little different than the other toasts. Cool beans. Alright, let me review what I did there and see if anything needs cleaned up before I commit. So taking a look here, we added our new shake event, which seems fine. We call that now when we gain an item. And I did notice that that does trigger on when we get our initial library books, which I was a little bit surprised by, because we're setting the inventory directly. One second. I'm not sure, but it didn't seem like a bad thing anyways, since you start with the item and it kind of gets you into it. One thing I am curious too is, will it happen when, if I have two items and I reload the game, actually will they all shake, or will that not happen? Okay, good. That would be a little weird if it just like shook every time you started playing. Okay, so that's good. In the toast manager, we bound the item to the on inventory clicked event. We just make sure to call that shake event with that item. If we click it, that seems reasonable. We made this more specific, and the button now tracks the item. That also seems good. And this is adding the animation data and the shake animation to our item button, so that also seems good. So I think I'm good to commit that, so let me just do that. So add item button, shake animation and events, and hook up to inventory toasts and gaining new items. Alright, push that up as well. Let me take a look at what I should do next. Alright, so I'm gonna start one that I think will be a little tricky, so I might not finish it today, but we'll see. So the issue itself is, if I play here, we use a virtual cursor for everything in the game, and that works in 99% of cases, but one case that it struggles is with option buttons in Godot. If you click that, you see that the option button actually shows up behind the pop-up that comes up, and it also kind of gets stuck in a weird way, which is interesting. And basically it's because the way Godot's option button works is this is actually like spawning a new window basically on top of your window, and that's my understanding, at least from kind of looking into this a little bit. So as far as I've been able to tell, the only way to solve that is to, instead of using their option button with the built-in support like this, we're going to have to just make a custom component that stays within the realm of our window, our scene for options. So I just want to start taking a peek at that, see what that is going to entail, and how to kind of reproduce this functionality, at least bare bones, or enough for what our needs without without having this cursor issue. So I will start taking a look there. So we're going to go over to our settings scene, not settings script. Oh, maybe we'll need that too, I don't know. But oh, probably actually. Let's open the settings menu while I'm here. But I want to go to scenes, UI, settings menu. So we have our display mode option button here. I want to turn this into a regular button and have basically a panel that will open up on top of it. So I'm just going to try and experiment with that right here. So let's add a regular button. I'll call it new display mode option button. I will give it the use pointer as well, because we'll want the little pointer hand when you hover it. And then I want to make this the same size as this display mode. I think it actually has already done that. Let's say windowed here as well. Why can I not see this? Okay, they are both there. It gets offset slightly because this is expecting an icon, I think. So if I change the icon behavior to center, then nope, that still moves. Text behavior, center. I'm not sure. All right, regardless, not important at the moment. It's just something to wonder about later. Okay, so we have this new button. When we click it, we're going to want to open a panel. And the panel, we want it to be the full width of our button here. We want it to be able to come down, and the panel itself, we want it to have a VBox container in it, so that we have, when we have our options, they'll automatically like align themselves and stuff. All right, so we've got this panel. When we click that button, we want it to open. It is currently behind resolution here, so I would say, can I just set its canvas layer a little bit? Z index is what I'm trying to say. 1, and then we'll throw in our children buttons in here. Hard coding these all now for testing purposes. We'll say, okay, this button is windowed again, and then the next button is full screen. And those were our existing options. Yeah. Okay. In the VBox, we'll just bring it in the container to the same size. Okay. I think the VBox, actually we want to have it just stick to the top. Same with the panel, we'll expand from the top. If I do that now, yeah, okay, now it doesn't break. Options panel. Why is that up there? Okay. I'm gonna actually take another quick bio break, so let me switch over and pause the stream. All right, B. Alright, I'm back and we'll continue the work here. So, just to recap, I'm looking at trying to solve an issue we have with our virtual cursor not being able to display over the Godot built-in option buttons because of the way they're technically spinning up like a new window, is my understanding behind the scenes. So we're just trying to make basically a custom simplified options button just to meet our needs here. So I'm setting up a kind of manual example to see how to get it to work, and then we'll look at trying to make it a little nicer, kind of reusable after this. So let's take a look. So I've added a panel 3-box container with our 2 options inside. We'll want that when this button is clicked, we'll expand the panel. When you click one of these options, it will pass back to this button to be able to trigger up to higher events effectively. So let's see how we want to do that. So let's have the panel collapse. By default, we'll make a new script and call this custom option button to start. So scene scripts, UI controls, script, custom object, no, option, custom option button. We'll drop that on this button. This will extend button. We'll give it a class name of custom option button. This will also be used because we want to actually change the type of this button after. Or maybe we can do it now. I forget. We'll try it now. Yeah, okay. So it's a custom option button. We'll export to get the options panel. When this is clicked, we're going to want to show that options panel. When the children are clicked, let's name these for now, windowed button and full screen button. We'll want to close this panel, but also update the current button text to be match these buttons. So how would we want to do that? For now, again, I guess we'll just make this all manual. So we're going to call pressed on the windowed button. We'll call its parent on windowed button pressed. Options panel dot hide. And same for this one. Source. Options panel dot hide. And we're going to want to change the text to windowed and the text to full screen. With our existing button, we were calling this function, so we're gonna just hard code do that for now. So full screen if the index was 1, otherwise, true if it was 1, otherwise false. So we're gonna pass 1, basically the button index still. So where is this class? Yeah, so we're gonna get a reference to our settings menu, and when we click the windowed button, we're gonna call settings menu dot what was this called? On display mode option button selected. Zero for this one and 1 for the second one. Oh, here we go. Do that. And then that should work for testing this. We won't be able to set the option automatically on load until we have this like having a list the same way the normal option button does. So we'll test this first. Go to settings. This should be my button now. Click it and it breaks. Oh, I didn't give it the option panel, I think. So go to its nodes. Yeah, we didn't do either of the assignments here. So we set the option panel for that one and the settings menu for this one. So now we get our two buttons. Our cursor does show over top of them, which is good. And we click, say, obviously the styles can use some work, but we'll do that later. Click windowed, we go windowed, full screen goes full screen. So it is possible, which is what we've been looking for. And there's only a few spots we use it, I think. So on glyph type and these timeout ones. Okay, so we use it in 4 spots, but proof of concept works. Now time to make it a little nicer. So if I go to the, if I find this again in here, I want to go to our display options. So we give it a list of items normally, so I'm going to set up that for our two buttons. So at export var items, we'll just have this as an array of text at this point. Make it a little simpler. And then in ready for item and items, for item string and items, we're going to instantiate a new button in our VBox container. So I want to now export the VBox container. We'll call it options container. Just a little nicer. So for var button equals button dot new button dot text equals item, and then we want to bind this buttons on pressed event. So button dot pressed dot connect to function option selected index int. So we need to connect this to options selected. Yeah. Oh, and then I think we do dot find. We need an ID for this now. So var index int equals 0. So we'll bind it with the index, and then we will increment the index. So we set up the button, but then we need to add it to our options container. And then now whenever we click any of the buttons, we hide the panel. Text will get set to the options container dot get child index dot. We'll need to grab that as a button first. Select our selected button equals this. So we have it as the right type. And we're going to say text equals selected button dot text. And then we'll call our actual settings with the index. And then we can get rid of both these. And I want to, before we do any of this, we can just call clear, no. We'll just delete it in the scene. Or I'll hide one of them just in case we need it back, but let me delete the other one. So if I go to our new options button now, I can give it the options container, and I can set our buttons to be windowed and full screen. That should give us our two buttons automatically generated, setting their indexes and their options, and then we can they'll all call this function rather than needing their own function each. So let's try this. Our settings, windowed, we have our two options. If I click windowed, it sets it to windowed, full screen sets it to full screen. Alright, that's great. So now next thing I can do is have this default to the actual option we've selected, so because right now if I select it to full screen, so actually, okay, the text setting is not working, so I will look at that. But I also want that when I start it in full screen, or save it, like leave the game and come back when it's full screen, this should show full screen. So we'll work on those things. So well, first thing is how do we actually do this with the other one? So in the top here, we see display option button. We call select and give it the index. So we'll set up a similar thing here. So function select index int. So when we select an option, we're going to want to say this part. Though, again, if our setting text isn't working, that's not going to work. So we got to figure that out. But yeah, we'll have to select where you will be able to go through our children items and then grab the okay. So we'll grab the text of them. Actually, I think this is silly. I think we should be using our items array directly, because otherwise, if this hasn't like got spun up yet by the time we're trying to load this, things will not necessarily work. So I think I'm going to update that in both these cases. So I want, instead of this, we're going to just read from our items list. Let's set it like this. That should be square brackets. And then when we select something, we want to just do the same thing. Okay, let's see if that fixes things. So I'm gonna actually need to start my updates to the settings menu. So display mode option button will now be a custom option button. If I go up to our settings menu here, we're going to need to pass on the new one. So, new display option button, and we'll see if that works. So we're in full screen. This started as full screened. I click windowed, goes to windowed. Full screen goes to full screen, text is updating. If I close it and reopen it when in windowed, we do start in windowed and the text is there. So pretty close to what we need. Obviously styles need to pass, but I think I need to just clean up a few little things maybe. I'll give it a quick review. I'll create it as I'll separate it out as a prefab scene, and then we'll be able to set it up for our other needs as well. So anything else here a little too, so I don't like that this is having to know about the settings menu, right? It shouldn't be specific to settings menu. It should just be able to call or expose a similar signal that the options button does. So if I look here, we want an item selected signal to expose. I don't know if this shows. I don't know. I forget how to do this, but we'll try and see. So I need to make a new signal. And then I want that when option is selected, we're just going to call item selected dot emit and then the index. So now then we're going to get rid of the settings menu reference here. And instead, an item selected, we're going to pick this same function we had before and just hook it up like that. So let's make sure that works. So that works. Great. Okay, is there anything else? So now, I guess the main thing is I want to make this into a prefab scene. So I want to just call this So let's call this custom option button. And open that scene. This can just be renamed as well, custom option button. I wonder if I could change this icon. Icon. I'm sure there's a way. I will add a to-do note to look. Let's use option buttons icon in Dough just to be a little clearer. But now I can get rid of this old display mode option button. I can rename this one just to display mode option button again. And I think if that all still works. Oh, I think our item selected got unhooked up. Somehow. Okay, and is that good? See that kind of thing. Okay, let me test it once more, and then I think I can then duplicate that for other buttons. Nope, something exploded. Okay, for some reason I lost our reference in the settings menu here when I made it into a prefab scene. So, or from when I renamed it, I guess. One of the two. Alright, windowed, full screen, windowed, full screen, and then if I quit and reload, it should say full screen. Okay, great. So now if I want to replace, say, this glyph type, I can go here, find that prefab scene, custom option button, call this one old glyph type button, call this one glyph type button, and then we want to copy our options over. So these will need to change in the future, but for now we will just map them one-to-one. So let me, shouldn't have options to start because that's not great. Which means this one will probably need them reset. Yeah, okay. So glyph type, how many options is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This will have a different number of buttons, so we'll be able to see what issues that brings up to, or reveals. Okay. And then I will, this is hooked up to on glyph type option. I'm going to delete this. On new button, hook that up to on glyph type option button selected, and then to go here, change glyph type to custom option, and I need to then drag that on. Okay. So so this is an additional requirement for the glyph type. Get option ID is a custom function here. It only used in one case actually. It's used in 4 cases. Okay, so I'm going to need to duplicate that for now. Get custom option ID, and this will be a custom option button. And then we just need to add 2 more supporting items just to make it 1-to-1. So we need to be able to get the size of our array. And we need to be able to get the item text of a specific index. Which we've already done above in a few cases. And happy now? Okay. So now when we do this, hopefully that's all we needed to do. Nope. Alright, so it is null. We're calling that here. What are we passing in? We didn't get to set this, I think, because the script had an issue, that's why. Okay, so let me drag on our new glyph type button and try that again. Nope, that error was just the old one. Alright, so it started at auto. It does show all of the options. Again, styles need some love, but it looks good. To test it, I will, I don't know, say Xbox, go click on the dialog. Oops. Apologies if you heard me punch the microphone. And there's the Xbox, even though we're using a PlayStation controller. Great. Alright, so that works as well. So, solved a few more things there. And the button does work to be reused between the 2 types. So I'm going to commit this part with these changes, and then I can go through and keep working on adding that, that new button type for all of our different option buttons. Okay, so just to make sure our changes look good, we've changed these 2 to custom option buttons. We've temporarily duplicated get option ID for get custom option ID since it's slightly different. And used it in the 1 case so far, so that's good. This is all new, but I think it's doing what we need for now. We'll continue to mangle it as we need. And this is the new scene. And then just our changes to the setting menu, which is mostly replacing the things set here with our new, or the 2 other buttons with our new ones. Okay, that looks good. So I will commit this and then keep working on the buttons. So this was add new custom option button to avoid issues rendering virtual cursor. use it for display type and glyph type buttons. Okay, let's push. So let's continue. So I realize the resolution option here is 1, so I'm going to rename this one, copy that and rename this one old. This one will be the new one. We're gonna go ahead and delete the old one. Actually, no, wait, I need the options first. Okay, this one's actually different because we wanted to set these properties dynamically through code. So let me take a look at what we need to change. So this is going to be now the custom option button. And then where is this used below? So we need an add item. So let's just add an add item. And it will take the actual name or value, call it key to match their terminology, but I don't think it returns anything. This will just be items.append key. So that fixes that, and then this needs to be custom option ID. And I think that's it for this one. So now we can actually go ahead and delete the existing button. Make sure we do add our reference here. Okay. Locale options is also, I think, added dynamically. So I'll do that one at the same time. We're going to make this a custom option button. We're going to go down here and make this custom option ID. And we're going to add in our new custom option button here, rename the old one. Rename our new one. And close out, delete out this old one. And just make sure we set our new reference. And I realized I didn't set the event on this one or the other one, so I've got to do that in a second. So, locale, too much stuff, too many, no. So this is our new locale option button. It's up there. Then for we need to connect our events for these. So on locale for this one, and then for the resolution one, we need to do the same. So those should both be swapped out and hopefully working. I don't know what the style of the disabled locale one will look like, so I'm going to just run this and check. I think it will pick up our existing disabled button, so yeah, that looks fine. So if I set this to windowed, this gets enabled. I seem to see, no, something's gone on. One sec. Okay, so the problem now is when we're only adding these options at the start, these new buttons, but we do need to be able to add them when we do this add item down here. So I think we're just gonna come down here. We're gonna create a new button. We're going to set it to, what is this item in this case? So this item is the string, so we're going to set it to the key. Then the index in this case is going to be the size of items, but that'll actually be one too many at this point, I think. So I think I'm gonna swap the order here, and hopefully this will make our resolutions appear. So let's try it out. Disable, windowed, and there's all our resolutions. So I said, 19. Oh god. Okay. Need to make sure the panel is blocking enough of it, but oh, we also should have. I need to do that if I click off, don't click the panel or anything. Then we do need this dialog to close. As you see, multiple are staying open right now. So. Let's alright, we can select them with cursors inside, which is cool too. Okay. So this did fix that. Then we want to. How do we make sure that if you click off anywhere else that it does, it's not involved with this, it closes? I guess if you click anywhere, because you're either clicking an option in this and it closes, or you're clicking anywhere else. So we need to handle that. Maybe function input. It's going to be a little bit tricky because we're going to want to make sure that when you're using controller, your focus gets stuck inside this. But I will worry about that later. So I said this is a big work item. We want this to basically trigger anytime the action is anything but mouse movement. Which I think it would be like so. And I do not here. So we need to ignore UI. UI focus, change events, so you can navigate the options with controller or keyboard, etc. Alright, Alright, so hopefully this just means if I click off, just as a quick and dirty test, if I click this, okay, so the problem is that also mouse up is letting it go. Alright. Where do you want to go? So now we're gonna just check if the event is if the event is a mouse button event, we're going to want to grab that event as a mouse event and check if it's a button up event, I think. I haven't looked at this docs for this recently, so let me just think. So equals the event, and then if mouse event dot released, mouse event is released, I guess it's pressed, we'll take an action rather than this will be refactored for sure. So let's try that out. Okay, so now it can stay open, but click over here, it closes. But if I do try and do arrow keys, so I also want when I click this, it should set the set focus to the first object and item in the list, I think. So let me do that, because when I was pressing down arrow, it was trying to change the tabs on the side, which isn't ideal. So function panel.show, and then we want the what is this? So we want the options container dot get child 0 dot grab focus. I say as button. Okay, so hopefully this means it will have the focus right away. Okay, I think that's probably working. It's just we need to not close on those events. So we want to listen if this is an input event action. We grab the event action event input event action equals event, and if action event dot action equals, how do I do this? There's UI dot up. Alright, no, I think we can just do if input dot is action just pressed UI up or down. If it's up or down or tab, we don't want to, I guess tab or reverse tab. Let me grab these from my other script. So if there's any of those, return, otherwise we hide. Though we need to make sure that they actually treat each other as the next and previous focus, so I'll have to see if that works. Okay, let's see if that works a little smoother. Okay, so no, it's still breaking. Oh, okay. Yeah, that wouldn't work because why did this happen? Oh, so yeah, I'm saying if it's anything but a mouse button break, so that's not good because we want, if it is a mouse button, so let's change it. So if it is a mouse button, do this. So then and then if it's an action event, check if it's that, and then else hide. Okay, reverse that, and that should work. Nope, not play. Alright, so now, same thing. Ooh. Okay, why can I not even click now? I guess this is handling it before the other thing, so I want I think this is gonna just need to take another look later. So I'm gonna add to do. Do need to automatically close when input events outside of this option button occur. We'll come back and revisit this. For now, that's a weird case, but you know, obviously needs fixed. Okay, so where are we at? So we're back to it works. Focus isn't working great. Why do I have? Why is it selecting? Let me try and track what focus is going on because something's. Oh, I think the, oh no, wait, this is the options container. It should only have children. Maybe I need to delete this just to be safe. I think I was setting it to the invisible button there, yeah. Okay, so now we need just to note that the base button, the one that opens this panel, needs to not be able to take focus while this panel is open. Okay. I click it, and then I go. Alright. It's getting there. Lots of polish needed still. So we want on button down, focus mode becomes none for this, and then the child grabs focus, and then when an option is selected, I guess we need to actually do it whenever this closes, so we need to make a separate close function because otherwise, if we get this working that we close and it closes the panel, then we need to also do it in that case. So function close, we'll set the focus mode back to all, and we need to also called hide here. So this becomes close. Let's just make sure we're set for future success by replacing these other hides with it. See if that makes the focus a little better. So, settings. Okay, now the bottom button doesn't get focus, but okay, and then I need to actually, I should grab the focus back to it once you select one. But that's better. Now does this work perfectly? Okay. Okay, so that's much better. So next, so we've done 2 more buttons. We have a couple, I think we have a couple more buttons that need replaced. So if I go here, we have, do we have any more? Yeah, so we have the toast timeout and the autoplay dialog timeout, and then that should be it to switch them all over. And then we can get rid of this duplicate function here. So that'll be good. So let's switch those both over now as well. So if we go back to settings menu, and we collapse some of these for sanity's sake. So it's in accessibility, we're going to have 2 of these. So one is the, which one? One is the toast timeout button. I think that's this one. Yeah. So this gets a custom option button. We got to copy over our items here. So let's, how many is there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5. Got 3 seconds. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, and I believe last one's never. Yeah, never. We need to rename this, so we'll grab this name, rename this one to old, rename this one to the correct name. We need to hook up this item selected. Should automatically be correct, but let's be safe. Actually, it is not, so it's on toast timeout. Connect that. We'll delete this old one, and we're going to set it on the settings menu. I'm going to call it rename this because it should be more in line. So this should be toast timeout. That's what the label. Why does the label say pop out? I think I'm going to rename that toast. I can always change it back there. I don't know. I'll leave it for now, but let me add a to-do to evaluate toast versus pop-out. Okay. I'll work on this for now. Or pop up. Sorry, not even pop up. Pop up. Okay. So we've got that one's item selected hooked up. We go here. We have added it into the toast timeout. And then the other one was the auto dialog timeout panel. So I'm gonna do the same thing for that. So we've got 1, 2, 3 options, and it looks like 2 blank options for some reason. Strange. All right, well, let's copy over the valid options and just assume that's all we wanted. So 3 seconds, 5 seconds, and 10 seconds. We'll do the naming. This becomes old, this becomes the new one. We'll set up the event. We'll change the typing is already done. I think these might not be using this, so let's double check. No, so it's only this. Get rid of it now. Then is there anything else to make this work? I think I didn't drag it to the top thing here. Yeah, it's still pointing to old. I can delete old. And drag on the new one. So taking a look, if I go over to accessibility, again, things are rough, but yeah, rough visually, but looks to be working. I'll have to test it in game to be sure. And then autoplay dialog, I will do the same just to test it. So it should take 10 seconds. Yeah, seems right. And then I need to get a notification just to test that that should be 3 seconds. That seems right. Okay, great. So for those, turn off autoplay dialog. This needs to handle its disabled state, which is interesting. Oh wait, no, yeah, it should be. Maybe we didn't do disabling it when this is off, but we'll need to look. So let me make a note for that. Okay, so I think that's good for now, so let me get this committed. So we've done some of the fixes for the focus and things, and we updated the last 4 option buttons. Got rid of the duplicate function. Okay. Interesting. Okay, looks fine to me. So let's get this committed. So place remaining option buttons and fix some instances of weird focus with new or with custom option button. Okay. So got that committed. I'm going to take a look at the disabled issue I mentioned just a moment ago. Sorry, the disabled button, and then I think that'll be my last thing to check for today, and then that'll probably be where I wrap up. So, okay, so when we have windowed mode full screen resolution option button gets disabled, do we do the same for our autoplay dialog button? So it looks like no. So we need to copy this and say if. So we'll set the state, and then if autoplay dialog button dot enabled, or if not enabled, and we want to say, oh wait, no, where's the timing for this? Oh, that's down here, choose timeout. Okay, so let me move this down. If not enabled, then autoplay dialog timeout button dot disabled equals true. Okay, so that should fix that issue we had seen where you can still set that even when that option's not being used. So it defaulted to being off. If I turn this on, it does not label it. So let's go look at how we do that. So when we change display mode, okay, so we just need to basically do the same here. So in accessibility, on autoplay dialog toggle option toggled. If toggled on, we want to set our button here to be disabled. Otherwise, we want to not have it be disabled. Let's try this. So it's disabled, we turn on, and it did not. Oh, they seem to be reversed. All right, easy fix. Okay, so now when this is on, the dialog's enabled. When it's off, yeah, so only when this is going to autoplay can you set these settings. Makes sense. Okay, I think that's all I'm gonna do for today on stream. So appreciate anyone joining today. or anyone checking out the VOD. I'm gonna sign off. I'll switch over to the end of stream graphic for a minute and then end the stream there. So thanks everyone.